Hi, hi friends, how are you? I know many of us are already preparing for the Ramadan month tomorrow, and for those of you who are Muslim, I wish you all a happy Ramadan fasting month. Okay, today I'm here to talk a little bit about what we are promoting for the Ramadan. Okay, of course, you can always find it in our posts either in my personal Instagram, Dr. Alice underscore Pratima, or in the Ageless Instagram account as well. Okay, please do follow the Ageless account as well, okay, because we are putting more and more educational stuff inside there. So if you're interested in topics of skin and well-being and what we are doing on a daily basis, please do follow us there. Okay, for this month, of course, is all about making sure that everyone shines and looks fresh for the month of May, because I think April is the month we already let go of our COVID fears. We are starting to come out. We are starting to, maybe in the near future, going to remove our mask. So I thought that we should give things that make our skin blemish free. So we have Infini. Okay, Infini is a great laser when you want some amount of skin tightening. You don't have too much of sagging. Infini is a very, very nice treatment. What is Infini? Infini is basically a robotic arm with a radio frequency needle that goes in and out. It is not painful as much as a micro needling because it doesn't have to be that kind of sharp needles. It doesn't have to bleed because it's when the needle goes in very slowly. That is actually a lot of, it's called gold microneedling in certain parts. Basically it's radio frequency with gold plated needles that go in. The radio frequency actually helps to rejuvenate a lot more stronger than normal microneedling. So it's great for scars, acne scars, it's great for wrinkles. It builds up collagen throughout the skin. So it's a very good treatment, and the market price for a treatment of Infini is about 2,500, and my way of doing it for my patients is by doing an Infini, and there is micro punctures or channels through which I can penetrate stem cells inside. So it's almost like 3 times the rejuvenation of just Infini alone. So together with the stem cell and Infini, it should be around 3,000 a treatment, but currently we are doing it in the region of 1,500. So it's a good discount, and you also have a package offer which is more special on that. I think it's about 4,500 for 4 treatments. So you're actually getting a good deal. So if you want your skin to look blemish free from open pores, scars, wrinkles, and some amount of skin tightening or lifting as well, then you can consider that. Of course, we also have our, because detox is so important during Ramadan month, right? So we also have our skin rejuvenating IV drips also at a 2,500 for 10 treatments, which is also about priced around 50%. And we're also coming up with some special promos to beautify the lips. Okay, so it's very important for fillers that can beautify us, but safe fillers. So we have a range of fillers, from purely vegetarian fillers like alginous, which doesn't have any chemicals, or BDD, which cross-link but can still support and improve the new collagen growth. We have Elance, we have Radius, which is a more strong one, which you can use for your nose, for your chin, also for the whole face lifting that we call liquid facelift. All those are also going to be on promo, so watch out for our promos. Okay, now I'm going to talk about why not too many pigmentation lasers. Those of you out there, if you have pigmentation and you go to a beautician, normally they will advise you to do a whitening facial, or they will tell you, I will use fruit acid peels on the skin to remove. So let me talk about the downside of that. Okay, the downside of that is when you're using a chemical peel, it only is working on the top layer. Okay, if it goes deeper down inside, you see this wavy layer, if it goes deeper than that, then that's it, your skin will scar permanently, but pigmentations are formed down here. Okay, so your pigment cells are formed down here, and then they migrate upwards, and then they become mature pigment cells, and then they form the pigments on the top layers of the skin. So if we want to give you a long lasting relief from pigmentation, we want to work on the dermis layers. Okay, so that is why lasers are so popular. And pigmentation lasers have been around, like what we call the Q-switch lasers. They've been around for many years. But when we only use pigmentation lasers on the skin, and we use a lot of these lasers on your skin continuously, for example, it is actually going to cause a lot of damage. And I'm talking this out of concern, and I'm talking this out of all the experiences I've had with my patients who have come with complaints from other places. Because when someone sees them, especially a consultant or a beautician who works in, for example, which is the latest trend for pigmentation lasers, they are going to tell you, go for 10 pico lasers or 20 pigmentation lasers, things like that. The reason why they say is maybe because of lack of education, I think, and they think that removing pigments is that simple. Let me tell you that God gave us pigmentation for a reason. Pigmentations are there for those people, those of us who live in hot countries, is to actually protect our skin. So some amount of pigmentation we need so that we protect our skin from damages from the sun or from the environment. So we do need some pigment. But what we don't want is clumping and gathering of those pigments together, and they become patchy things on top. And that can be a bit unsightly. So that is why we fight against pigment. Our goal is never to completely remove all your pigments. Our role is just to declutter the pigments so that they lay a nice smooth layer on the skin, which is where they should be. So when you do too much of pigmentation lasers and with no other proper advice, like many of them who do pigmentation lasers have not been advised on using the proper kind of sun protection, for example. So sometimes when someone does frequent pigmentation lasers on maybe 2 weekly or 3 weekly basis, there's a bit of over removal of pigments. So the skin reacts in two ways. Either the skin goes completely without any pigment because they've been aggressively removed from the areas, and when you stop the laser, what happens? The skin is starved of protection, right? So it comes out with a lot of pigmentation, and this we call as hyperpigmentation. Hyper is when something is too much, right? So it becomes darker. Many of my patients who have undergone extensive laser treatments for their pigmentation, 6, then not enough, 10, then 15, then 20, they actually found that their skin, whenever they stopped it, got hyperpigmented. Okay, so they got very fed up with it, and when they come to me, they are like, don't tell me anything about lasers. I don't want to do any lasers because I had this experience. I spent so much of money and I spent so much of time, and I was told never to go out in the sun. I did all that, and despite everything, when I stopped, within a month all the pigments came and they were even darker. So there is some issues over here, but it's a topic for another day as well, because if you're talking about melasma, it is multi-etiology. So there's also internal factors we call as intrinsic factors. So we need to look at minerals, nutrition, support, how good is your collagen layers. A lot of things we need to consider before we just ask someone to go for pigmentation lasers. And of course, we need to support them with good skincare products that can support and recover their skin. And the idea is always never to go too much, too many. Okay, the second dreaded complication of too many pigmentation lasers, whether it's Q-switch or Pico is not superior to the extent that it will never give you any hyperpigmentation or hypopigmentation. Same thing that can happen with any pigmentation laser can also happen for Pico laser. Okay, because it's an aggressive laser, and then when you over remove the pigment, the skin can react by forming too much pigmentation, or the even more dreaded complication is hypopigmentation, where you actually get white spots, something like vitiligo spots, which is very hard to treat. At least hyperpigmentation can be treated, but hypopigmentation can be only treated, and I'm telling you this with experience. It can only be treated with stem cells, and we pray very hard that the skin recovers. Okay, because hypopigmentation is like vitiligo. You know vitiligo, the white spots where people lose the pigment, it becomes like that. Your skin permanently loses the ability to form the pigments. So what can happen to the skin which is pigmented? It can get wrinkled easily, it can go into premature aging, it can get cancer because it reacts to all the free oxygen radicals, because it has got zero protective layer. So doing too much of any of these lasers, I have Discovery Pico, don't get me wrong, I do pigmentation lasers, but I always temper my pigmentation treatments. And there's also other elements to a pigmentation other than intrinsic and extrinsic problems. The skin also can have vascular melasmas. Vascular melasmas is where the skin is so inflamed and irritated that it actually looks red, and this happens after wrong skin care, too much of peeling treatments, too much of fractional treatments on the skin where the skin has been peeled over much. So this kind of things, then the skin can have a vascular element. If you look with our reveal imaging or our Vectra 3D imaging, we actually can see that underneath this there's a lot of broken capillaries. Okay, so these are bad kind of blood vessels that is feeding into the dermis of the skin, and it is causing hyperpigmentation because of the blood vessels which is in the very thin skin conditions. So in this kind of cases, I would never attempt to straight away do a pigmentation laser. This kind of people would benefit with a mixture of different kind of lasers. So sometimes I will work with a yellow laser or a shining bright laser, so that we can reduce the vascular part of it, the blood vessel, the broken capillaries, the redness, the inflammation, or if they have acne, we can reduce the acne. So all those anti-inflammation things we will do first. Let the skin calm down. I also treat them with correct kind of skincare. So I have some great skincare that I have developed over the years, which can quickly within a week heal and prime the skin before I start any lasers at all. And once they have done that, I start with yellow lasers. I let the skin to calm down, the redness all gone. Only then I will attempt a pico laser on these people, and I will do it in moderation. And in any one package, I will not go more than 3 or maximum 4. That's it. But we intersperse it with some peptide facial to strengthen the skin. We do some yellow lasers or shining bright lasers to build up on all those skin cells, which will build up the strength of the skin, the dermis, before we will mix and match our pigmentation lasers together with it. And I believe if we do it this way, if we moderately remove the clumping of the pigments, still giving a good layer, you will never get, most of the time, okay, there is no such thing as 100%, but most of the time, if you are careful with your skincare and you have a fairly good lifestyle, you won't get your pigments come back, at least not in the near future, come back with that kind of intensity or hyperpigmentation, and neither you will be exposed to the hypopigmentation. So this is my thoughts on why people should not be doing too many pigmentation lasers, especially pico lasers, because pico lasers are also pigmentation lasers. It's the same wavelength as a Q-switch pigmentation laser. It's only it comes in very tiny quick waves. Okay, so because it's quick waves, what it can do is the very fine particles of pigment it can pick up. But if you do too much of this pico laser, it can still cause you the same complications of hyper or hyperpigmentation. So always look for skin analysis, always look for professional advice, and I'm talking about doctors who have experience and doctors who have a good track record, okay, who can tell you exactly what you need without thinking of what laser they have in their place and only recommend you that particular laser. Sometimes if we don't have something, there is nothing wrong in referring to somebody else, but then it doesn't happen at this social climate right now. So most of the time, you as consumers, you are the one have to be alert to all these facts. So find out everything, learn more about it. If you're not sure or clear about what I'm telling you, you can go to good dermatological website, which will tell you the real truth. Not go to particular doctors' websites, because of course it may not be 100% correct. So you need to go into those areas to do your own research before you sign up for too many pico lasers. Why I'm telling this again and again is because now it's a trend and it's happening, and it's all about who's giving the cheapest pico laser. It does not work like that. It's you who are more important, because your skin is your permanent face envelope. You need to be proud of your own skin. Even in bare skin, you need to be proud of your own skin so that you can maintain your self-esteem and your self-confidence. So if you want to spend that money, you want to spend that time, you want to put yourself through these treatments, think 2-3 times and then you can act. Okay, I hope I've given you some useful advice. I hope you all think about it and do some research. Okay, and I'll see you guys again soon. I cannot promise exactly when, but I'll come back to you as whenever I have some free time and whenever I can talk to you again. Okay, bye bye and have a nice weekend.